Welcome to Performance Upgrades. I'm your host, Dave Moss. The show is brought to you by SportBikeWrench.com. Performance parts and professional advice. Remember, when you buy from Sport Bike Wrench, you support our programming here at On The Throttle. Today's show, we're going to show you how to go ahead and change out your brake pads in the front calipers. Often these doing, very simple to do and very quick and easy job. Now, as always, whenever you're doing anything like this, you're going to need something to protect your hands, especially in regards to brake pads. So once again, we'll dive into our glove boy box from Motion Pro, get a pair of gloves out and get started here. So in order to get started, we're going to need to take a 14mm, remove the bolts holding the caliper onto the front fork. Next, we need some needle nose pliers. On the 09R6, the brake pin doesn't screw in. It's held in by two very small R-clips. So we need to go ahead and grab those. Now the pin will push all the way through and out, and you'll need your needle nose pliers again to grab that and pull it through. Now at this point, you can see my hands on the bottom to catch the brake pads. So we'll take those out. And then this piece on the top, the pressure plate, will come out. So that's how it sits. Put it down on the bench the way it's going to go back in. Now while you're here, obviously this is a great time to go ahead and clean the pistons and the caliper. We have several videos that show you how to go ahead and clean the caliper. So go to OnTheThrottle.com to the how-to section and look that up. Now obviously the brake pin that holds the pads will need cleaning. You can do that very simply. You can just wipe it down with WD-40 and clean it, get all the brake dust and everything off it. If it's really bad, you can go ahead and clean it with some 600 grit sandpaper and just gently rub all the edges off of it. But in any event, it needs to be clean. When you're done clean it completely with brake clean or brake wash and make sure that it's perfectly dry. Now as the brake pin wears, you'll see two shiny parts here where in general the brake pads sit. After a while, because this is soft metal, if it becomes ridged, then the pads will stick on the pin and not slide backwards and forwards, which can be a huge problem. So it's quick and simple to replace the pin. So always, every time you clean the brake caliper, inspect the pin for any gouging or any deformation in the pin at all, and if so, replace it. Now the pads we're going to replace are Galfer's 1375 series, which are track-oriented pads for increased heat dissipation to keep the brakes much cooler overall during operation. So we'll go ahead and package these. Again, you want to make sure you've got gloves. You don't want fingerprints, finger oil, or anything else on the pads at all. Now we'll reassemble our caliper. So we take our pressure plate, put that back the way that it came off, and seat it correctly. We'll turn it over, and then we'll grab the pads this way so we don't grab the face of the pads so they're together, and go ahead and locate those in the caliper. Now if you turn it upside down like that, it will allow you to seat the pads correctly. Then go ahead and put your finger underneath so they are separate and on each tang here. Now you're going to have to apply a little pressure on the plate itself to go ahead and locate the pin through each brake pad. It's a little tricky, so go ahead and take your time, and you're going to have to let the pads move up and down in your fingers under here to get the right depth to allow the pin to push through. Now once you've got the pin through, you're going to have to locate the holes that were drilled through it for the R-clips. So give yourself a little space on the end and then rotate the pin gently using your needle nose pliers until the hole comes into sight, right there. Now you should be able by hand, and if not, use the needle nose pliers to go ahead and set the first pin in and clip it. Now make sure on the other side the hole is perfectly visible. Take your other R-clip and go ahead and locate that in as well. Now that's your reassembly with everything in the correct place, everything put back, pins firmly located, and we're ready to reinstall the caliper onto this side of the wheel. Now because you have new pads, they're obviously way different in width than the pads you're taking off. So one important thing to do is very gently push your pistons back into position, gently pushing them back. Use the backing plate of your new brake pads to open that gap up, and then gently make sure the pins are split and we have a nice wide gap. Also, when you are doing that, check your master cylinder, pull our cozy off there, and make sure you have a large enough air gap here when you push the pistons back so that you can put the caliper on and not fill this full because you're pushing the pistons back. That can cause a huge problem in that the brake fluid heats up, has nowhere to go, and all of a sudden the only place it can go is to push the pistons out, engage the brakes fully all the time you're riding until eventually it locks the front up. So extremely important when you replace the pads to take great care to make sure you have an air gap in the reservoir. Let's go ahead and reinstall the caliper on this side. For now, we will just leave this snug and then we'll come back with a torque wrench. Very important next. Pump your brake lever to seat the pads against the rotor. Now we can go to the other side. So there you have it, how to remove and reinstall brake pads on an 09 R6. Now remember, every time you put pads on, ideally you can sandblast the rotors or sand them down, especially if you're changing manufacturer of pad. That way the pad can mate to a clean rotor. 600 grit is fine if you're doing the sandpaper method, and make sure you take your time to scrub them clean. Also, every pad manufacturer, in this case Algalfa pads, have a very specific braking procedure. So follow that, don't throw the instructions away, do it correctly, because if you glaze the pads, you've got to go get new pads and they're not cheap. So take your time bedding the pads in correctly to the rotor. As always, we thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Performance Upgrades.